healing of blind people has been recorded in the Old Testament and the New Testament on a number of occasions. The blind are healed. That's what the prophets, of course, told us, that when the Messiah comes, the blind will see. But this is the only time in the reading we just had this morning, this is the only time in the Bible, Old or New Testament, in which a person who was born blind is given sight. The disciples and Jesus are in Jerusalem. They're walking along the path, and they discover that there is before them, sitting, begging, a blind person. And the disciples have a theological discussion started. They want to know, why? Why was he born blind? Did he sin? Well, that one's difficult to imagine, that if he was born blind that he sinned, but there was this theory among some people that you could sin in the womb before you were even born. Esau and Jacob fighting and hating each other, even before they came into the world. Did he sin? Or did his parents sin? Is that the reason that he was born blind? His parents did something bad and he's being punished for it? That was an idea that was prevalent. It's not gone. People still think that. You know. There was an English football coach they call soccer football. They've got it mixed up. But anyway, soccer coach, an English soccer. I think he was the head of the national team in England. And he made a public statement that he believed that if a child is born with some kind of defect or deformity or challenge, physical or mental challenge, not whole in the way that we would think of that there is sin somewhere in the past of those parents or grandparents. Can you imagine someone saying that? The public outcry was so ferocious and so loud that this soccer coach was forced to resign. Who sinned? The disciples say to Jesus, that this man was born blind. Was it his parents? Was it him? What's the cause here? And there are people today who still believe in karma. And karma means that there's this unstoppable fate. You can't stop it. You can't change it. It's going to happen regardless of what you do. You are fated to be a certain way or be born a certain way. And so the karma just makes the decision for us, how we're going to come into the world and what we're going to look like. We can't stop it. People believe that the universe is a moral slot machine. You know, you put in a good coin, you get a good result. You put in a bad coin, you get a bad result. Who sinned? They asked Jesus. That this man was born blind. Was it his parents or was it him? Where's the problem? And of course, Jesus gives the answer that we need to hear. Who sinned? Neither. Neither. That's not the way the world works. Now, Jesus solves that question to some extent, but then we are left with another question. And the question is, why is the world the way it is? Why is it that some people seem to be so unfortunate and other people seem to be so lucky? Why is it that this person dies of a heart attack at 43 and this person lives to be 104, not a sick day in her life? You and I have wondered that. We all have wondered that. That question can be a stumbling block for some people. I know people who have, so to speak, left the church, lost their faith because of the struggle in their mind. They can't understand why God would allow some things to happen. And because they happened, there must not be a God. They struggle with that question. Wonder why? Why? Why is life the way it is? I want you to know that Jesus doesn't give an answer to that. That question is never answered. What Jesus does do is something different. He looks at the person on the ground, sitting there, begging, born blind. Can't imagine, how difficult his life must have been. Born blind. Someone who's never seen a pretty girl smile at him, who's never seen an eagle soar in the air, who's never seen a sunset, never seen anything his entire life, born blind. And Jesus, as he looks at him, the first thing he does, he says something. He tells the disciples, I am the light of the world. And then he does something. Jesus gets down to earth, gets down on the ground. And he mixes dirt and spittle, dirt and spit, the spit from his own mouth, the dirt from the ground, and he makes a paste. And he places it on the eyes of the blind person and says to him, go to the pool and wash. And when he does, he can see. For the first time in his life, he can see. The light of the world has touched him, and he can see. It's a wonderful story of the light coming into the world and touching a human life and sight. And then Jesus says to his disciples, night is coming when no one can work these works. Be about this while you still have the hour and the day to do it. There's an urgency to that, isn't there? Jesus is saying to us, saying to disciples and to us, you don't get forever to do the works that I do. Do it now. Do it today. Don't wait, for the hour is coming when you won't be able to do this. Sense of urgency there. My daughter, the one who played the flute in Christmas Eve, Sandy, now lives in North Carolina, but for 13 years before 2 years ago, she lived in New York City. That was such a wonderful thing for us. I didn't think I would ever like New York City. I would never even want to go to New York City. But if you've got a daughter who lives there, and she can show you all of the neat places and take you everywhere and get on the right subway and get off at the right time and all that, New York City can really be a lot of fun. And we, for 12, 13 years, loved every time we ever went to New York City. We had a blast. And I remember one time my daughter took us to Central Park. She liked to go there and walk around, see people riding their bicycles and doing all what they do, the dancing and all, making music. And they had wandered off somewhere. And I was standing at the edge of the park where the main street runs north and south on the east side of Central Park. All these people, cars, honking, people walking. You know how New York City has all these millions of people everywhere. And I saw a smartly dressed, middle-aged woman walk down the sidewalk and stop and lean up against the side of the abutment there, the divider between the sidewalk and the park. And she had in her hand a large manila envelope that you could immediately know these are x-rays. And she leaned against the post there and just began to cry. All these people, all the cars, everybody moving around, and one woman standing there with this envelope in her hand, crying. And I stood there and looked at her and I said to myself, you need to go over there and talk to her. Tell her you're a minister. Ask her if she would like to have prayer. Tell her that God is going to be with her regardless of what these x-rays are saying. God will never abandon her, and she is held and loved by God every step of what this means for her. You know, when you think like that, you have thoughts like that, you know God is giving you these thoughts. God wants you to do something, to step forward. Maybe you should think I'm crazy. It doesn't matter. It's New York City. It doesn't matter. There's a woman. There's an opportunity. Go to her. And I did nothing. I stayed where I was. I let her cry. But I have never forgotten. And I have said to myself, and I pray once in a while, God, if I ever see that woman, if I ever see that moment in life again, help me to go forward with whatever strength and purpose I have in my life to do something. I was really amused the other day when I read a story about Yale University. You know how old Yale is? 316 years old. That's how long Yale has been doing its work, educating young people. The people who go to Yale are the people who are the smartest, aren't they? I mean, you have to be near genius to get in to these Ivy League schools. They know computers. They know everything. These kids are so smart. And the report that came that I read was that there's a course being offered now at Yale that is the most popular course in the 316 years of that university. 1 out of every 4 Yale students has signed up for this course. You know what the course is? It's a course in the psychology department on how to be happy. One out of every 2 Yale students is in counseling. I have a master's degree in counseling. That's a good thing for young people to seek help. That's good. 1 out of 2 is in counseling. They have been so successful. They have achieved so much. And now they're wondering, is this what life is about? And how do I make friends? I don't know how to do that. And how do I make my life fulfilled? I don't know how to do that. And one of the requirements that the professor of this course gives to all of those students, you know what it is? Once a week, if you're in that course, you have to perform an act of kindness. We know this. This is not news to us. To live life, to be fulfilled, to find any kind of joy and happiness, you've got to get out of yourself. And you've got to connect with the life that is around us and the people who need us. And when we do that, we find fulfillment and we find our purpose. We find our joy and our meaning in life. When we, like Jesus, get down on the ground with dirt and spit and just do whatever God shows us and gives us as opportunity to love and serve and bless, and all the ways that God gives us opportunity to do that. Why do things happen the way they do? You know, the Bible never even comes close to trying to answer that question. Why is the world the way it is? Why? Why do some people have such a difficult time and other people seem like they don't have such a difficult time? Why this disparagement? Why is it that bombs fall from the sky and land on hospitals and churches and homes? Why is it that storms rage across the earth and floods and fires and all these people who are displaced and made homeless? All of those questions, we are never given an answer. But in that love chapter that Paul writes, 1 Corinthians 13, he says, we see through a glass darkly. I love the King James way of putting that. Just so poetic. That's the truth, isn't it? We see through a glass darkly. We can't see. Can't understand. And he goes on to say, but then, face to face. Not now. We don't see now, but then there will come a time when we will see. But in the meantime, you see, between seeing through the glass darkly and seeing face to face, Jesus says, do the works that I do while it is day. Folks, we are only given one life. This is it. This is your day. This is your time. This is your life. It's happening right now. And while it is day, while the hour is yours to claim, we reach down and get dirty, make mud, offer healing. In the New Testament book of Hebrews, I love it where it says, at present, we do not see everything subject to Him. That's true, isn't it? At present. We don't see everything subject to God. Not every knee has bowed. Not every tongue has confessed. What we see is difficulty and struggle and disease and pain and rebellion and anger. We do not see everything subject to Him at present. And then that wonderful word, I've taught you this word. When you hear the word but, or nevertheless, or yet, we do not see everything subject to Him, but, and this is the good part, but we see Jesus crowned with honor and glory, the light of the world. We don't know why the world the way it is, but we see Jesus. We don't know why we have to suffer as we do, but we see Jesus, the light of the world. That is what we have. That is what we claim. And this Jesus wants to shine in us and through us. The light of the world wants to get inside. When we give ourselves away to God, when we let our ego get out of the way, when we ask to be filled. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to get my happiness from the world. I can't get it. Every time I try to let the world give me something, I'm always disappointed. It falls apart. It wears down. It goes away. I'm tired of the world giving me what I need. It can't give me what I need. But the light of the world, what I have found is that it never fails to bless, never fails to renew, never fails to make new. The light of the world is Jesus. That's the same sermon I preached last week, and the week before, and the week before. The light of the world is Jesus.